I mean, some of the guys we've even seen with this stuff, they're doing it on purpose. It's actually done on purpose because they're using it as clickbait.
Oh,
as they
you
call
sometimes
it,
see that
to
too,
get attention. Something that's happening more and more often, particularly with the advent of YouTube being so popular and everyone watching videos. And now you've got reviewers reviewing product on YouTube, from blenders to automobiles to tires to fire retardant materials.
Probably.
I mean, shit. When you think about how many terabytes of YouTube videos go up every day? I mean, the number is just
It's a lot.
Unbelievable. I don't even know how they get them as storage. Where do they put all this
They barely
shit?
do. They're complaining about it.
I mean, can you imagine the amount needed to store all the YouTube videos that go up?
It is actually a problem.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they're saying they don't make enough money to be able to do it sustainably, and they want to charge people.
I could see that. Well, Elon's kicking that in high gear with Twitter.
Yeah.
I was going to have the same
Let's
problem.
charge people.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Well, they've been trying on YouTube with the premium for a long time now, and I think the uptake is pretty low.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because you nix the commercials, right?
Right.
They're figuring
Whoop-de-doo.
every video you watch is worth what, a nickel?
Yeah, barely. Yeah, not even that probably.
Yeah, so how much can you possibly avoid? But anyway, the thing is that we noticed, like, it's nothing new, but it seems to be more prevalent, is that the people doing the reviews, and this is in the headphone space because we're seeing it with our own products, the people doing the reviews are reviewing stuff that's old. And they're presenting it as if it's new, right? Like I remember seeing a review a few months ago on a Diana Phi. Well, a few months ago. Well, we discontinued Diana Phi. It was a retired model a year ago, over a year ago. But this reviewer is reviewing it as if it was new.
They didn't say that it was an older product.
He didn't say anything.
Say it was
No.
discontinued.
Now, maybe to him it's new. That I believe.
Right.
He bought it used, and to him it's new, and he's reviewing it. And good or bad, the fact of the matter is that it doesn't even exist anymore as a new model. You can't go buy it, but you could buy it used. And like you said, he's not saying, well, you can only get this used because they don't make it anymore.
The complicated part is it creates a lot of ambiguity. The viewer doesn't know that there is a replacement product. They don't know that this is an older product, right? So now, to their knowledge, this is the newest thing. And we see a lot of this stuff, especially on something like Diana, because it looks similar outwardly. And
Yeah,
I mean, it gets
tell.
1266 too, really.
Right.
There's a lot of people that don't know there's been 4 evolutions of 1266, and there's big differences. We've had quite a few people that think the regular OG 1266 is what we're shipping now.
Right. You still got people looking for those, actually.
I mean, it's not common, but it does happen.
It's not common, but it happens. And that's sort of an issue because people like this go online, they leave comments, they say other things on, they go on forums or whatever, and it creates even more confusion and ambiguity, and it kind of spreads. So you get these issues where people go around thinking that this is the current product. They think it's whatever. It hasn't changed in 6 years or something like that. But all these iterations occurred. And it's kind of difficult to be clear in communication on this.
Now, to be clear, these tend to be more or less amateur YouTubers. These guys just started.
Yeah.
They have not a lot of subs. Yeah. But the fact that they're not clear about it, just, it makes them look bad, right? Because people in the know are going, what the hell's he talking about? This thing, they already got another model, And
well, it makes everybody look bad.
Yeah, well, that too. I mean, and
it creates a lot of confusion.
If he puts it in a negative light, like, oh, this doesn't do this, it's like, well, yeah, but that problem was solved 5 years ago, and you're talking about something, that's old. And yeah, it's confusing all around. And I just, what I don't get, like, you think about it, like, if I was going to review something, I think the first thing I would do is go to the manufacturer's website just to take a look at what I'm talking about. Like, let's look at the specs. Let's look at how they describe it. Right? Wouldn't you want to look at
seems like a reasonable thing to
what
do.
is it available? How much does it cost?
Right. I mean, I do that.
I would think you'd instantly realize it doesn't even exist there anymore.
There is one place where that becomes very difficult. Apple. iPad, when they started doing just
that
iPad,
is confusing
I'm
as
like,
hell.
yeah, but I don't know which one.
Yeah.
It could be like one of 5 generations.
Right. Although you don't
That's
find too many people, I don't think, reviewing old iPads, but
No,
maybe.
but I'm just saying.
I guess there's so many reviews of that I wouldn't even know if it was
I've
old.
never even looked at a review on it like that. So
At least the look has changed now. Like the latest gen iPads are different, a bit different look. You can kind of tell.
It's a bit different. When people are looking at a headphone, reviews are important a lot of times. And the trouble is you expect to some extent that the reviewer is going to be educated and informed, hopefully more so than you, because you're watching their video to try to get educated on the matter, right? And the reality is, because of how accessible things like YouTube are now, it's easier than ever, and you're seeing more reviewers than ever reviewing products. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with reviewing an old product, but it's common that they don't make it clear that this is a product you could only buy used. If this is a product that was discontinued years ago, that changes occurred. And they often lead misleading or incorrect information. I don't have any problem with even like a negative review. I don't consider that to be a problem. The problem is when people say things that are factually inaccurate. Because what happens is it continues to spread, and it's impossible pretty much for the manufacturer to do anything about it. You have no control what people say online.
Yeah, I mean, some of the guys we've even seen with this stuff, they're doing it on purpose. It's actually done on purpose because they're using it as clickbait.
Oh,
as they
you
call
sometimes
it,
see that
to
too,
get attention. And I mean, they could look as honest as the light rain of the day, but the reality of it is, they're nice and they're sweet and they got a nice voice. But the reality of it is, they're using that negative attention to get attention, and we
That's
see that
increasingly
we see that a lot too. So I mean, in other words, it's actually intended. These reviews.
Well, the whole point of the review isn't to review the product. It's to get attention by using the product as leverage.
Using the brand name to get people to watch you.
And it seems like you see this more with people that are affiliated with a company. So if you go to their little description or whatever, and if it has a link to the same company over and over and over and all their products, not like an Amazon review, whatever. Obviously, they don't really care what you buy on Amazon. But if you see it going to one particular company over and over and over again, and especially if that company doesn't sell the products that they have negative reviews on.
Yeah, right.
That's when it's sort of a little suspicious.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there's a lot of that
This thing
now.
sucks, but you can buy this at this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't buy this, but you could buy this other stuff that I really like.
In the description.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's.
And they conveniently exclude that they make money on it.
Because boy, do I like that. But I don't like this.
Well, then you got like your very professional YouTubers like Linus and stuff. When he reviews old products you can't buy, he's very clear. It's like, this is 20 years old, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
We bought it on eBay.
And usually they're doing that for a purpose.
Yeah.
Because they're comparing. They're probably contrasting to today or something.
Well, sometimes it's cool to see old stuff, but if it's like a 2-year-old, 1-year-old model and you're reviewing it and you're saying it just came out or it's brand new, which reviewers do this, that's a problem.
Maybe we should get the original iPod with the hard drive in it, one of the old ones, and review it and see how many people if it would make attention, how many people would notice.
People do that all the time.
We've got a new iPod here.
Brand new, just got it.
That one's a little too old.
and it's not an internet.
Just released it. Not an internet communicator.
Yeah, it's not an internet communicator. Yes, it's not a phone. Anyway,
big brick.
Yeah.
So that
it's sort of the same thing. Yeah, but it's unfortunate because what ends up happening is this information spreads, and it's oftentimes wrong, and it creates a real issue for anybody looking to buy used, new, the manufacturer. Now there's all this confusion.
Well, you're intentionally misinforming the public to get attention for yourself, and it's nuts. Well,
I mean, I wouldn't say most people are doing that, but some definitely are. Most people aren't intentionally doing it. It's just kind of they don't have a lot of experience.
They just glossed over the fact that this product no longer
they
is
don't
made.
think it matters. Yeah.
Well, see, that's the other problem, though. Is like, okay, so who's listening to this now? You're listening to this, and it kind of brings us to our last video. We talked about marketing terms. Companies come up with names for features that and it's the same kind of thing, really. It's similar where, whatever you're doing to promote your video, yourself, or this product, you should have a minimal amount of background information on it before you do the video. A minimal amount.
That's a good idea.
Maybe how it works might help. I mean, okay, now we've done that too. But the point of our video wasn't to show you how it worked. It wasn't the point. But I could think of some things where here you got guys going on for 20 minutes about how it works and how it functions, how it sounds and how it fits. But he never researched it to find out that it's not even a product anymore. And and so why are we even bothering this? It almost seems like a mundane thing, I don't know. How else would you look at it? I mean,
it's complicated.
I mean, maybe people think this is useful information. I don't really know.
Well, there's nothing wrong with seeing past products or whatever, especially if you value this reviewer's opinion and whatnot, which we always tell people, try to find a reviewer that you know, are on the same page with, more or less, because then sometimes people look to a particular reviewer to make sure they review this product before you buy it. And maybe you're looking at buying a used product. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. So there's value in reviewing used products. It's maybe less than a new product. Depends on the perspective, I guess. But either way, the issue is there's no clarity in communication. They don't often say, this is a product you can't buy
It's kind of
anymore.
misleading in
This
a
is an
sense.
old product. It is misleading.
Well, you know what? Are there reviewers that review old products?
Plenty.
I mean, they key in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what? I'm just curious. I don't know,
Like-
cameras, watches, type thing.
Tech mode.
Yeah,
Everything
usually,
he does.
usually, I mean, even just computers in general.
Really?
There's like people that are only into like 80s computers, right? And
Jeez. Yeah. Why?
that's what they like.
What do they do with them? I mean, what, they
Vintage
don't.
electronics
They
are pretty
could
bad.
barely play video games. Like,
You know, that's what they're into. You
I
know?
mean, really poor video games
Yeah.
like Atari.
Yeah, sometimes people like playing the old vintage games and you want the hardware to be
I could see
authentic and all
that.
that. Or maybe you just
Yeah.
like it, you think it looks cool, it's novel.
Yeah.
Plenty of reasons. Some
I
people
could
like
see that.
you were
restoring
a
it.
kid in 1982 and you had one of these then and you want one now.
It's kind of like Jay Leno with all the old cars he has and
Same
stuff like
thing,
that.
yeah, but
you know?
with electronics,
Yeah.
sure.
But of course, with cars, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
You know, it's old.
Yeah.
You could just look at it and go, oh,
Well, it's the same with electronics. You look at it and you go,
Yeah, right.
oh,
yeah.
this is
Well,
old.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see it. Yeah.
But when you're
80s
talking about a
IBM.
year or two,
Tube amps are an exception.
that's the worst case scenario. When,
Yeah.
when you're showing a product that's like 2 years old, for example,
Right.
it'll look pretty modern,
Right.
but you can't buy it
Agreed.
anymore. So it's like,
Right. Yeah.
it's questionable. It's a gray area, I guess.
Yeah.
And that, I guess that's sort of our issue. Clarity in communication.
Yeah.
Because people go to reviewers expecting them to be knowledgeable and informed. And sometimes they're not. And they don't make that clear.
Even the gear they use, they don't talk about, which is kind of weird. It's like,
Sometimes.
you know, I mean, it's hard to put if you're being a subjective reviewer, if you're not just looking at features,
Right.
talking about how it's made, right, and you're actually talking about the sonic character of something. You really got to put out there what you're using for gear because the system is a huge part of the sound. And, you know, again, I think a lot of guys are purposely don't talk about the system because they don't really have good stuff or a mix. Like in our line of business, right, we're manufacturing this stuff. We want to know what our stuff, before we even put it out there, a new design, right?
Yep.
We try it on a bunch of stuff. We have a ton of stuff in-house, at home. We got probably a dozen different amplifiers of all different vintages and even the latest stuff. We got all kinds of stuff. We got all kinds of stuff to play with. And we know how those devices, how the electronics separate themselves from one another with our product, right? So in other words, we're integrating our product into what's available in the world. It's got to work with what you can buy to work with it. It's got to work with current day stuff and hopefully going forward. But when you have someone reviewing something, let's say it'd be kind of like you know, you think about, I guess what's a parallel to this, like taking an 8K TV and hooking it up to a cable box,
I mean, maybe not
right?
that much.
And then reviewing it as an 8K TV.
It's not really like that.
No, no.
But you do see this actually. I saw a few of these. People reviewing, I mean, it's sort of the same thing, I guess, to some extent.
Well, the
people,
source isn't
people reviewing
up to snuff.
like a new battery electric vehicle compared to like a 2017 Model S. I saw a few big companies do things like that somewhat recently. And the issue is from their perspective of the reviewer or whatever, maybe somebody had this car for a little while or whatever, but they think it's new and it's representative of current manufacturer. They don't understand the changes, the iterations that have occurred because the product
lot
looks
of them.
similar. Yeah, so they're comparing a 2022 flagship model or whatever to a car that was designed and manufactured 6 or 8 years ago and has changed 3 times since.
well,
That's
not
incredibly
counting the subtle
misleading.
changes.
And the trouble is the thing that's misleading about that oftentimes happens in the viewer's mind because they may not explicitly say that this is a older model that you can't buy anymore and has a lot of changes, but the way they review it, they do like a range comparison, acceleration or something like that, right? Where there's a lot of changes or advancements made in that particular thing that they're testing since then, but they're being intentionally misleading. Or maybe even not intentionally, but still ends up being misleading nonetheless because what they're showing you is representative of old manufacturing. They're comparing it to a brand new model from another company. It's sort of the same thing, but it's often done just because of negligence, not because of malice.
Well, and that's true. And then to expand on that point, where you talk it whether it's intentional or not, it's true. Either way, it's not professional. It's an unprofessional way to show a product, regardless of what it is, if you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And, I mean, bottom line, right? I mean, is there any way to look at that? I mean,
what's the value in showing, here's a 7-year-old car that this new one's better than?
right.
Okay.
Right.
So,
well, where's the value in that?
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
What's your point?
it's silly.
I do well, one example that I can think of that everybody became hypersensitive to, like test conditions or anything like that, or what they were using, was like 10 years ago or so. Reviewers with tires on vehicles. They're like, they would have 2 cars on a track, right? And they get a lap time. And it's like, this one beats this one.
Yeah.
And they would never mention tires. But then once someone figured out that, these tires are way better than these that was on this vehicle, it was like, okay, everybody in the comments is always like, they have the same tires every time. So everybody became so sensitive to the test, and how they were, going about
it's a
it.
big difference.
Well, they dumped it down to one number.
Well,
Time, right?
Right.
Seconds,
Right.
seconds, tenths of a
Well,
second.
you see this too,
Yeah.
especially in like trucks and stuff like that. If you're comparing like how much weight you could pull on a gravel road or dirt or something like that, or if you look at like a sled pull competition or something like that,
right.
the tires are like pretty much all that matters
Yeah,
for a
right.
standard
Traction.
stock off the shelf truck, right?
And the engine.
It's all about like
and the transmission.
pretty much everything makes enough power to spin the tires on dirt.
Nowadays.
So it's like it comes down to the tires. So
Yeah.
people compare one brand to another.
Yeah,
well, what
they're all
tires
running
are on it?
2,000 plus horsepower, right? So
Well, it depends on the vehicle.
Yeah.
But it's enough. Overwhelmingly, in like a sled pull, everything stops with all the tires spinning. So it's
at some
like,
point, friction just wins.
well, what weighs more? What gets better traction?
Yeah,
So it's kind of a stupid test.
Pininfarina just
it's interesting
not
to watch.
Farina.
Oh, yeah, it's cool to watch, but it's misleading
Yeah.
if you're comparing stock vehicles.
What's it? The Italian design firm Pininfarina, for I don't know, whatever they are. They just set a new record, fastest accelerating vehicle. It's like 1.68 seconds or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought someone approached a second already with a car.
Not on a street car.
No. Oh, right.
It's
Not a
just
street car.
Not 1
Yeah.
second.
The tires are an issue at
yeah,
that
right.
point.
That's the
Below
problem.
2 seconds is barely possible.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like
Right.
you're going for it. You got to have some stuff going on.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
kidding.
that's pretty much the limit of what a street
Yeah,
tire
what am I
can do.
thinking?
Yeah.
To 60,
60.
100 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's 2,000 horsepower.
Yeah. At that point, to go faster than that, you need rocket assist.
You need
That's it.
something
Mhm.
more than tires.
Yeah. A push.
Like gears or something.
Gears.
That's right.
Like a
Yeah, geared
Stuck
track.
in tires or
catapult.
something.
Like they launched the planes off the fighter jets off of it.
Yeah.
What do those things use? A big rubber band? What the hell's
They're
shooting?
steam, but we're actually changing them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're actually
Steam?
Yeah, they used to.
So they're piston based?
Yeah, but now they just changed them over to their linear motors now.
Oh, magnetic. Yeah, well, it makes sense.
Well, they said it's because the steam was yanked the front gear so much that it would put a lot of wear and tear on them. So now
the
they can
initial
ramp
jolt,
it.
they couldn't control it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they must fill up a tank full of steam and
I
then
think
let
it'd
it
be
loose.
doable, but I guess it's hard.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
the
no
planes are
control.
heavy and they need to.
Yeah, but they got no budget either.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, plus you're in the middle of an ocean, so there's probably got only certain ways to do this.
Well, and they have a lot of power on deck.
Now,
Yeah, they
well,
got-
now with nuclear,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
yeah, electricity is not an issue. The wire is to
Yeah.
connect it.
Anyways, I think it'd be interesting to
Big
hear what
cables.
people say about reviewers, clarity, and that sort of deal. Maybe they could tell
Yeah,
us.
that's true. Yeah, well, give us your comments.
Because
Let
it's
us know
a complicated one.
what you're thinking.
It
You know,
really
I mean,
is.
Because there's no like solution, right?
It's a thing that bothers me when I see people say things that are just obviously wrong. It doesn't really matter if it's negative or positive. You shouldn't be saying things that are very easy to demonstrate that they're wrong
right?
as a reviewer. But maybe it doesn't bother people and they think it's the greatest thing ever.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, find out. Let us know.
Yeah, creates a lot of misinformation nonetheless.
Hit subscribe. We're always coming out with new topics. Thumbs us up. Take care. Thanks, everyone.